I'm going to cross to a brave woman in Kyiv who's in the middle of an air raid alert at the moment. For then, just a brief overview of day 7 of the war. It's getting grim. It's true, the Russian army has still not captured a single big Ukrainian city, although there are reports now of Russian paratroopers in the second biggest city, Kyiv, which suffered a terrible bombardment overnight.
Well, we're in Freedom Square here in the middle of Kharkiv that was hit by a strike last night. You can see complete devastation here. The top of this building behind me has been completely taken out. There's just rubble all over the streets.
The Ukrainian president spoke of that square, Freedom Square, in an address to the United Nations that was so powerful that his interpreter started to cry.
We are fighting just for our land and for our freedom, despite the fact that all large cities of our country are now blocked. Nobody is going to enter and intervene with our freedom and country. And believe you me, every square of today, no matter what it's called, it's going to be called, as today, Freedom Square in every city of our country. Nobody's going to break us. We're strong. We're Ukrainians.
The diplomats there at the UN gave Zelensky a standing ovation, but when the Russian foreign minister gave his speech to the UN Human Rights Council, diplomats just walked out in disgust. But I have to tell you, fine speeches, standing ovations and walkouts, they do not win wars. And yes, the Ukrainians are still showing unbelievable courage. They inspire us, they shame us with that courage. Unarmed civilians in the south tried to even stop a Russian convoy with just their bodies. And it's also true that Russian logistics are poor, the soldiers' morale is low, and their losses much higher than they expected. But Russia has meanwhile bombed the university, bombed the hospital, took out the TV tower in Kyiv to stop broadcasts, and it seems it's now making steady progress to capture the southern coast and is massing its troops. About 80% of its pre-invasion troops are now in the country, preparing to surround the capital, Kyiv, and possibly starve it into surrender. Ukrainian forces in the east seem in danger of being cut off, and our Defence Minister Peter Dutton today sounded grim.
There is tragically a sense of inevitability because of the sheer weight of force that Russia is bringing to bear, but there is a considerable response on the ground, and we're seeing that. We want to see it continue, and hopefully that force is repelled eventually, but at the moment, when you see capital cities being encircled, it is very difficult to see a different outcome.
If we want to save Ukraine, we're running out of time. Joining me from the Ukrainian capital is Ukrainian MP Inna Sovsun, who's deputy head of the pro-European political party Holos. Inna Sovsun, thank you so much for giving us your time when, of course, there's an air raid alert going on and you've got other things on your mind. You are in Kyiv. Have you got enough food and water there if the Russians now cut it off?
Yes. Hi there. Sorry for no video. I'm in the basement right now. The connection is pretty poor. We just had an air raid alert again. This was the third as of this morning, and we're at 10:40 in the morning in Kyiv here. We are doing fine in Kyiv. Particularly compared to what is happening in Kharkiv, which is my native city, and just seeing the pictures from Kharkiv is just breaking my heart. I'm getting so messages from people in Kharkiv there. But what gives me hope is that not a single message I got from my native city of Kharkiv, which has been so heavily bombed in the last couple of days, none of the messages says that we should surrender. Every single message is saying like we should stop those fascists coming over to our city. And Kharkiv is mostly a Russian-speaking city, and they want Russians out of that. So the whole narrative of Putin that he's coming here to free the Russians, the Russian speakers here in Ukraine, is just nonsensical because basically everyone wants him out of our country right now. So we are in Kyiv doing fine. Well, to an extent possible. We do see our troops on the ground doing a terrific job. We do trust in them so much. And I think that the whole world could see now the courage of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian army.
Believe me, we are watching, we are amazed. We are amazed and we are shamed. What do you think is going to happen next?
So that really depends on several factors. First of all, the level of response of the Ukrainian army. Again, I do trust them so much. They have managed to show Russians that the whole idea of taking over Kyiv in the first 24 hours of the first bombardments have failed so much. We do see the Russian army in disarray. We do see the Russian soldiers not being able to explain why they're here, and they're just giving up. Like the whole convoys are just raising white flags and surrendering, not wanting to be killed. We are lucky to have got quite lots of technical support from our partners from all over the world in weeks leading towards the war, and now we are putting the techniques, those solutions that we received to good use. So we do believe that they will try to target Kyiv again with bombardment. But they still haven't got hold of any major Ukrainian city, even the city of Kharkiv, which you are seeing on the screen right now. This is actually just to tell you, this is like 10 minutes away from the school that I graduated from 20 years ago. So just can't believe seeing those pictures. But we do believe that they will try to advance, but they are so much losing ground. And even in Kharkiv, which has been so heavily bombarded, they are not in the city. And being in touch with the people who are defending the city right now, with the military over there, they said that they will not surrender. They will not let the Russian tanks into the city of Kharkiv.
Somson, I find it impossible to believe that you can hang on indefinitely unless the West does something more than it's done already. What would you like to see?
Precisely. That is actually the second factor at play here, not just the resistance and resilience of the Ukrainian people and Ukrainian army, but also the Western response. And as of yet, I do have to say that we are grateful for the response we got, but it is so much not enough to save us, to save our lives, to save our children. So what we're asking for now are three main things. Please do continue to support the Ukrainian army as much as you can. Every single protective gear we receive is being put to good use. Every single weapon we got is actually saving hundreds of lives here in Ukraine. So everything we got is extremely useful. Second thing we're asking for is more sanctions against Russia. We do believe that the growing discontent in Russia should have some influence on the Russian authority. And we need the sanctions that would actually make it impossible for Russia to sustain this war economically. So we need the sanctions that will basically just crush the Russian economy totally, so they will not have money. That is why we are asking for full trade embargo with Russia, because every single dollar that is being sent to Russia right now is being used to buy more weapons with which they're killing Ukrainians. And the third thing we are asking from the West right now, and I know that is a big ask and that is a big stretch, and there is a complicated geopolitical debate about it, but please help us establish the no-fly zone over Ukraine. I know it is complicated for several reasons, but also we have to admit that the precedence is there. The West did establish no-fly zones in other military conflicts zones. So we are asking for that because that will help us save the lives of hundreds of civilians who are being targeted by Russians right now. They're targeting hospitals, they're targeting university buildings. Just one is in fire right now in Kharkiv, the sociology faculty of the local university. They're targeting orphanages. And can you imagine, like, poor orphans being targeted by Russians? That is just impossible.
Oh, it's terrible.
Comprehend.
But Somson, I'm running out of time, but I just need to ask you this thing. The argument against the no-fly zone is if we then, the West, end up shooting Russian planes, mad Vladimir Putin is going to declare war against the rest of us too, and then it could get nuclear. What's your argument against that?
Well, first of all, about getting West involved, I think the West needs to realize that if Ukraine is not saved right now, Putin will proceed further. He already said that he doesn't like Poland in NATO. He doesn't like Hungary in NATO. So will he intervene then? And if so, then why not intervene here in Ukraine to stop him and to save so many lives? As for nuclear option, I know it is there. Let's be honest, it has always been there. And let's also be honest that it is at play regardless of the Western response. And actually establishing a no-fly zone can actually help us finish the war sooner, so that well, hopefully Putin will be out of power in Russia and will be just impeached or taken down in any other way possible by his elites that are now supporting him, but which are losing every day.
Yeah, that's our best hope. I think the longer you fight, you've given us a chance, you've given yourself a chance. The longer it goes on, the more hope we have that Putin himself will be assassinated or removed, or that the West will finally come to some serious aid. Ina Sobson, thank you so much. I admire your courage. Thank you for giving us this time down there in the basement during this air raid. I really appreciate it. Thank you.